Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How is everybody doing? It's been kind of a quiet week for me, but a very, very, very rapid one. Hopefully you guys are getting a little more done than I am. Because I swear, I don't know what to say. I'm like, the days are going to be 5 minutes long at this rate. I was just kind of looking at the Earth thing from Google Earth here, and I realized today when I was looking for somebody's Mandela that they don't remember this island, and it's somebody from Japan. Our friend Taro Eto. I don't remember like a big chunk of Japan originally here. Like I remember these islands being all split up more, and they just kind of grow together. And so like I almost feel kind of ridiculous just pointing at this one, and I don't think it was there, but then I don't think a lot of this was there, so this might be the newest one for them, but they don't remember that island. So anyways, looking at that, and so like there's less clouds now. Like it got lighter, but not much. I think that's more visible than was last week when I made it small. But I think the shadow thing has gotten even bigger, and so I've kind of thought about that, and it does hide more of the Earth. So I was kind of thinking that was it, like it's just hiding the Mandelas. But then it occurred to me that if the Earth has shrunk again, then perhaps that would explain why the shadow looks bigger. I'm not 100% on that, but see, this is interesting because last time I did this and I tried to like put it so that none of the land was visible, because I know that there was a time when, well, way back, there was not a whole like kind of blank side of the Earth with nothing but water, but for some time there has been now, and I used to be able to set it where you really could only see like the tiniest sliver of the other continents, and this would be all clear ocean. And you can see now that that's not the case, because there's a bunch, well, there's freaking Australia. How rude. Australia, like half of Australia is here, this and this. But this is interesting because even last week, I don't think that you could see the land over in the shadow side like you currently can. Let me see if I spin it. Set to north. Joink. So I'm trying to see what land masses are visible. So you can still kind of see it now, and you couldn't. Interesting. Maybe this one really shows because it's white. Maybe that's part of it. Yeah, that might be it, but that's also really white. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, there's definitely been some shifts. But the fact that this is so, it just covers like a more percent of the Earth visible back here than it did. Like twice as much as I remember even like a month ago. So I just want to add that in because it's something I thought of later. Did you see the Spider-Man lizard? We have had the Spider-Man lizard on before, and I thought it was really at the time weird at the time. That was, gosh, it's been a number of years. I think I had a thumbnail of it, didn't I? Doink. Did it get some purple? Because I remember it being blue and red, but I don't remember purple on that lizard. Alright, let's call it the Mwanza flat-headed rockagama. That might get us a little further. Ding, ding, ding. Why does it look so pink in those? I think that that's just had the color specs cranked. Okay. This is interesting because there's a lot more pink in it. Like there's this tune tone. Let's see. What is Spider-Man colored again? Yeah, it's just red. So this is interesting because I remember this as being very like the color of Spider-Man, which was just red and blue. But now there's all these different ones. This is closer, but then it's got a bunch of pink on it. I don't know. Why is it suddenly gone grayscale here? Is it when it sheds off its old scales? I had not seen any with grayscale on them, so that's weird. But now there's a number of them. Huh. What the heck, people? Okay, so yeah, this one has upgraded some. It's got all speckles on the back now. Didn't used to have that. It used to just be Spider-Man color, so it actually made more sense originally. But now it's sort of pink, and then it's sort of red, and then it's sort of gray, and then it's whatever. Oh, look, there's some teal on this one. Okay, so, I'm going to die if Spider-Man turns pink, but not yet. The actual Spider-Man. Oh, look, it's got red going up the, blue going up the back. Did they have that? I didn't see that. This is interesting, because I'm seeing it here, but I'm not seeing it on the actual lizards. That one, a tiny bit. So maybe that's in process. Okay, so anyway, they have changed since the first time. That has some up the throat. See all the speckles, that's all new. Okay, so slight changes since we first saw it. Dunkin' Donuts now has a missing the G, yeah. And has the apostrophe. Dunkin' Donuts. I think I thought that was a Mandela years ago, but it's just been so long. Yeah, it looks a lot better without the stupid apostrophe now that I'm reading it. I think we discussed that, but it was like, 8 years ago or something. Have we covered the featherhorn beetle? Featherhorn beetle. I know there's just an endless number of weird bugs now. I've had stuff on like that. This one's actually really catching my eye. 'Cause I don't remember. I remember some that kind of had a shell like that, but not to that level. I mean, look at these things. There's so many. All right, so back to featherhorn. I believe it would be this then. Featherhorn beetle. Close-up bug art. I don't think I've had this one on. I've certainly had a lot of weird ones, but I don't think I've had this one. It looks like it's got antennas. Satellite dish bug. There's so many of these weird shiny bugs now. They're popping up around here too. Not this exact one, but having these similar really bright outer shells like the iridescence. I clicked on this because it almost looks like this stag beetle's getting iridescence. These other ones don't show it yet though, but this one kind of does. I'm thinking maybe the stag beetles will get some of that too. Okay, we got these emerald beetles. So yeah, I've definitely seen a couple. It wasn't these exact ones, but it has these kind of shinies. And when that color first showed up, it was only like in these specific beetles that are way in like Vietnam or something. But now, like, there's so many of them, it's ridiculous. Yeah, you could, even just looking at the beetles, you could go forever. Oh, that's interesting. So, these stag beetles, it looks like they're their horns go down and around now. They used to just be like this, but now they're definitely more gripper style, and they're bigger. I have not seen that look before. You see them like that, but those go up. This is crazy. You'll never catch up. Yeah, were you talking about these numbers at the end of the names? I don't, was it like every time we get on here, there's new weird crap? They had banned links, then they let some people have links, then they were back, then they were banned, then these crown things, now this numbers things. What's the point? Is there some concern that some other at David Kent will sneak on here, and so you have to get a number? I mean, like... Yeah, see, mine didn't get it, though. Upgrades happen. Yeah, I know. And that's the thing is, you never know. I had gotten suspicious about last week, though, because it seemed like every program that I regularly use looked different, especially all the search ones. And they aren't, like, even Yandex, which should not have any relation to Google, also look different. Has anybody heard of the disappearing of the woman's sexual organ? No. The disappearing part of the woman's sexual... No. No, I don't think so. Alright, now we gotta look at that. I'm having trouble finding it. Plus, it's a little tricky, like, doing searches on this. It's supposed to be a family show. See if Google's any better at this. Oh, okay, part of your vajayjay could disappear during menopause. Part of the vulva can actually disappear during... I have never heard of that. Alright, that's during, yeah, this is weird. From this year... Women are just finding out. Yeah, because it never happened before. Seems that postmenopausal women have kept tight-lipped about this one. Yeah. You think? Labia minora. I'm like totally... Alright, this kind of sounds stupid, but I don't remember having a labia minora. I only remember having a labia majora. So that's why I'm like, oh, it disappears? So that's going to be like business as normal if you're old, but the young ones are going to get it? I don't know. I mean, it makes sense if they have a word called labia majora that there would be a minora, but... Alright, click on the link. Alright. Why is my labia disappeared? You may feel perplexed and blindsided. I don't know what to say. I kind of feel like some of you guys got a menorah, like you younger ones. And then they'll just say, oh, well, those old people probably lost theirs. That's why they don't have one. I don't know. It's just it's called genitourinary syndrome of menopause. Okay. Other symptoms. All right, less estrogen. Yeah. All right, some of that other stuff is just like you getting old. All right, now they're gonna push the medication. I'm gonna have trouble explaining this one without getting some kind of docked for using the wrong menorah. May disappear after menopause. Okay. So, when my mother went through menopause and we had this discussion whether she was going to do the hormone replacement. So I did a bunch of research online at the time about what happens after menopause, and you can bet your bippy this was not on there. And in fact, the main thing back then, there's like, well, your bones might weaken due to like less estrogen or something. And then I'm like, you know what? Every one of our family, we don't have any bone problems. And none of the older generations ever had it. And so we just decided not to, and then they said, oh, well, maybe it'll improve your heart function. Like, there's nothing wrong with your heart. And she never had any problems. She never took it, and she never had any problems. And then like 10 or 15 years later, they said, oh, maybe it's not a good idea to rush out and get the replacement hormones. So we were like, yes, we made the right decision. But this was not freaking on there. So I'm hesitant to look into it too far because the material may be rather, how do I say it? I almost said the wrong thing there. Like there could be issues on the channel, but I know that a certain something got extra nerve endings, or they found extra nerve endings. Well, they were talking about there being a lot of nerve endings there, but I mean, that was always a thing, so I don't know. That's crazy, though. I agree with that's crazy. I swear to, I mean, am I crazy? Do you guys remember, the females remember learning about labia minora? Because I just don't. I don't think I've ever heard of it. Majora, absolutely, but I've never heard of this minora thing. Is the YouTube video interface all weird, play buttons, blah, blah. Subscribe. I think it's okay. That is normal. No, I think it's all right. This one's gonna go on later. Is that, no, it's not a real brick wall. It's just a, what do you call those? God, I'm not really smart tonight. Sorry. It's the thingy. Oh, okay. So it was 1,000 nerve endings. Now they're saying it's 10,000. I don't know. It's like they could say anything, and how would we know, you know? Oh yeah, General Sorrow didn't get all the names, the numbers on his name. General Sorrow. That's not weird enough name to. There's got to be other General Sorrows. I was just thinking maybe it's because if you had a really, if a lot of people had your name, but. This is like the grand mystery. Every time we come, there's a new YouTube thing. They have been doing some weird stuff with YouTube. Like they said they were going to let some of the people that, remember back in the pandemic, they kicked people off from like medical disinformation or something. And they let some few people off back on, and it was mostly the more well-known ones. And it was kind of, I don't know, it was like a lot of claiming and about that much action, but the @ symbol in front of our names looks the word. Yeah, that was the old days when it was, that's such a weird word, gay, because it used to just mean happy, so you could be happy and gay, and then it meant that you were like an effeminate male, and then like, how did it get from one to the other? I don't know. How many Vivian Merciers can there be? I don't know. It's a good question. But there has to be more General Sorrows than one, so. See, now Rudy Memoka did not get it. It's not green screen. It's just an actual, like, printed thing back here. It's just a printed backdrop. That's the word. It's a backdrop. There was a couple things I was worried that it would overload my computer if I did the whole green screen thing. And then I'm like, well, if I'm going to put a screen back there, I might as well just put, like, the one I want. It was so easy. And they're not really expensive on Amazon at all. And now that I'm on Amazon Vine, I could probably get some free ones and write them off. I thought about it. I just haven't really seen any ones that I really like. Plus, I can only do 3 items a day. You'd think that would be enough for anybody. But I haven't wanted to use them up on backdrops yet. I think, yeah, it meant homosexual, but to me, I don't remember it not being a slur when I was a kid, like it was a slur. But, it kind of just meant you're stupid. I mean, it wasn't, sometimes they would use it as you were being effeminate, but like they would say it to women for like no reason that had anything to do with it. So it was kind of a weird word. It's just like people call you a fascist now, and even though you're not doing anything even slightly like a fascist, like you might say like, oh, just leave everybody alone and let them do what they want, and they'll be like, you're a right-wing fascist. I'm like, I'm a fascist because I just want to leave everybody alone. I mean, like, they don't think about what they're saying. It really doesn't mean anything. It didn't mean a lot even back then. And now we just have another giant pile of words that have shifted into just meaning you're stupid. Or even more like, I don't like you is what they really mean. Jesus says, I should judge. No, I don't think it does. Even though it's not, judge not lest ye be judged anymore, it's still like very close to that. This whole question of natural versus unnatural is a tricky one, because then you have to define natural. And if anything can just magically show up, then what is even natural? I mean, if like suddenly there is a giant horde of caterpillars that never existed and then they always exist, is that natural? I don't think I can even say what natural is. All you know is it showed up. So I am such a libertarian. I'm like, just don't hurt other people, and I'm pretty much like, do what you want with some limits, obviously. But gay used to imply that somebody was sexually questionable. Well, it just would imply that you were gay, but it usually meant the thing is, it was sometimes used that way, but a lot of times it was like, don't be gay, and they just meant like, don't do something stupid. A lot of times when they used it, it obviously didn't have anything to do with your sexual preferences or being effeminate. It just didn't. It was just like, hey, do you like this fork? Don't be gay, it's ugly. It has nothing to do with it. It was just a general purpose insult, like there are so many of now. See, that also brings up a whole thing with the Bible, because if stuff can just magically show up, in the Bible, if you read the Bible, there are definitely parts that seem to very much allude to it, like you can move mountains, So they're always like, oh, it's just a parable. Every time something sounds really impossible, they say, oh, that must be a parable. But now I'm looking like, no, I think it just means exactly what it said. When he said you could move mountains, I think he meant you could move mountains. And because we have seen the mountains move, and that is why I think it is literal. And when they said time will speed up, they said, oh, that's a parable. No, I think time is going to fucking speed up, because it already has. So once I start reading in the Bible that a lot of that is literal, then then you got to go, well, did humans meddle with it and change things and leave stuff out? And so in this timeline, there's all these other Bible versions and books and stuff that so apparently got thrown out of the official Bible. The official Bible is not even just one book. There's a whole pile of them. So what even is the Bible anymore in this timeline? Why do I feel the need to say I'm straight? I think it's convenient to say you're straight so that that people won't get their... Everybody knows who's available for what, basically. Like, if I know some dude's gay, then right from the beginning, it's good to know, because then you're not going to try for him, right? Like, you're not going to embarrass yourself. You're not going to embarrass him. It just saves a lot of trouble. So I do think it's good for that. But I don't, let's not do the whole Bible thumping thing, because I don't want to, turn this thing into a finger wagging. I am actually against the finger wagging. And I don't think, even if you do believe in the Bible and the sayings and stuff, if you actually really want to spread the word and convince people, if you're too heavy-handed, you just drive people away anyways. So if that is really your goal, you have to take your ego out of it, and you have to take the finger wagging out of it, and you have to put the kindness into it. And if you take your ego out and put your kindness in, then people will listen to you. And I'm not saying it's easy, because I have plenty fat ego, but those times that I am able to actually just only care about that person, but not finger wag and not judge, because judge not lest ye be judged. When I'm able to do that, the response is very different and much more positive. So that's for anything, and then give them the space to have a different opinion and disagree. And sometimes people will be like, no, and then they'll come back later, or they'll think about it and they'll process it, and then maybe it'll take a long time. And that's true for everything. It's, anything that's kind of difficult for people to accept, I would say, like the Mandela, just well, what if this was possible? You don't have to go, can't you see the fucking thing changed? Are you stupid? Or you say, well, just, open the door a crack, because they can handle a little bit, There was this girl I knew, she just was a natural salesperson, because somehow she could just talk to you and it was like she was your friend and suggesting something, and she never got like upset or let her ego into it. And if you weren't interested, she'd be like, well, just think about it. And she was, like, it was authentic when she said it. She gave you the space to say no, but by giving you the space to say no, she also made it easier somehow to like think about it and maybe come back to it. Did my voice jump scare you? Did I just, yeah. I'm so busy thinking about what I'm thinking that I don't even pay attention to how loud I am. So, people don't use that, the language changes. So even if, I don't think that word would have lasted forever as an insult, but now we have other words that are also very insulting that are used all the time. And they're not, a lot of them that are in the common use on both sides are very insensitive to all kinds of people. So, I just think it's funny that the current generations think that they're more inclusive and they're more sensitive, because they're not. And, we certainly had our things back in the day, but man, there's just a different batch of them now. I mean, like, people literally just go die. I'll just tell you to go die. I mean, like, the internet is 100 times more insulting to everybody than it ever has been in the past. So that's why I just laugh. It was like, oh, well, back in the 70s, you used this insulting word. Now you just have 100 insulting words, but not that one. There is nothing new under the sun. Yeah, it just circulates around. I mean, I think it's natural. When I was a kid, I thought, my generation is smarter than those old people, because, we're more modern. And I think that might just be a natural thing, that when you're 18, you think, oh, this is not that hard, I figured it out. But you didn't, because it's a lot harder than you think, right? But you think this is not going to be that hard. All you have to do is blah, blah, blah. And then you sally forth out there and you find out that, no, it may look good on the surface, but it's not that easy. But so, I try to like give slack to the young gens, because there's just something that you have to go through. Yeah, there's, so I did not have Oumuamua. I didn't have it originally. And then I've watched it change, because it just looked like a rock, and now it looks sort of like a spaceship. And I don't know, the shape has changed a lot after I discovered it. And yeah, now we got that 3 Atlas thing. And so I still wonder, I'm like, is any of it even real, or is it just like a narrative? I mean, is there really space, and there's there really a rock out there? I don't know. Older generation had wisdom, something that is now not there. I was just thinking about wisdom the other day, and I think, I mean, certainly when some people get older, they don't really gain much, if any, wisdom. Maybe they learned a little bit since they were younger, maybe. Or maybe they are drinking a lot and, like, rotted out half their brain cells, so they're not. But I think in order to obtain wisdom, one of the most essential parts of it is that as you go through life, you realize and admit to yourself when you were wrong. Like, I thought this, and now I realize I was wrong. And that's how you learn. If you can't admit you were wrong, it's going to be hard to accumulate wisdom. And if you're pretty good at it and pretty smart, then I think you'll get to the point where you have a fair lot of wisdom. But that might be part of the problem with a lot of the current generation is, and I'm not even saying it's not like they're genetically like inferior or anything. It's the current environment and whatever it is we're going through. It's just people are not really good. Oh, they're stepping on this weird thing. No. A leaf. Okay. Sorry, easily distracted. I I think people are just not very good at admitting when they're wrong anymore, and it's sort of not taught. And there's a lot more like just doubling down. I see that a lot now. And maybe it works good on the internet, and the internet is a lot of what's breeding this tendency. But it's like, come on, dude, you're so obviously wrong that, at least in the old days, we would have said, well, it doesn't matter anyway, or something, right? We wouldn't, because we were so obviously wrong that we would not have the cheekiness to try to still claim we're right when we're obviously ridiculously wrong. And there's a giant 3 mountains of evidence making it glaringly obvious that we were wrong. It's like if I say this handle is blue and somebody goes, it's not, like, don't double down that it's blue. So then, in the old days you go, well, it doesn't matter. Who cares what color the handle was? And I didn't get a good look at it. And we'd have other excuses. Okay, we would be immature, but not so immature as to just double down. And that's what I see now. And it's just fascinating to me because I'm like, dude, everybody knows that you're lying. But if you don't admit to yourself when you make mistakes, wisdom accumulation will be a lot slower. So that is going to be a challenge, I think. Yes, when I was young, I thought I knew everything. I think I was mean to my mom. Yeah, I wasn't outright mean. Like, I wasn't verbally mean. But in my head, I'm like, oh, well, she's old and she doesn't know what she's talking about. I would think those things. And now I'm like, nah. I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, let's just say. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a lot of it. Just admit when you were wrong. Like, be able to admit to yourself. I think that's the first step. You have to admit to yourself. I know people that are... I think that's another thing that the internet has really done is there's, like, these role models. They're able to put on a false front on, like, Facebook and stuff where they only show their filtered face looking all perfect, and they only tell the stories of stuff that that sound good, and maybe they make up a lot of it, and there's just a lot of fakeness because fakeness is easy now. It's just so easy to have a whole fake reality online. So, like, it's people got out of the habit of being authentic, and part of it is because it's just so easy to not be authentic, so you're further down the wrong path, even just as a child, without even having developed yet. The awakening has grade steps. You don't know about it until you make the first real step. Yeah, it's funny how it is, because you make the step and you're like, I'm a genius, I figured it out. And then when you think about it, I'm like, it was always pretty obvious, but somehow I just couldn't see. You just can't see until you're ready to see. And it does feel like it's sort of like the reality is like this weird dream brainwashing thing. Like, in the trick to awakening is to just shake it off, shake off the miasma. Unlearn all the wrong things you learn, or at least recognize them for being wrong. It's a generation thing older people don't understand as much. I don't think you can ever understand what a different generation fully goes through because it's so different for each generation. We won't understand your generation, and you won't understand our generation in certain fundamental ways because you just didn't live our life and we didn't live your life. So, like, try to cut each other slack on that. It's just your generation turned out different because you had a different environment. But I also think that the biology changes and stuff, that probably also has had a strong effect. I do think as you get along the path, though, it gets harder to do the wrong thing. Like, you just don't want to. It just feels icky, to do the wrong, like, bad things. I won't say the wrong thing, like bad things. And which is interesting to me because, like, where did those rules come from? Somehow they do seem kind of in, like somehow society is instilled with them already. Like, even people who do bad things, like, say, some thief steals my, they steal something from me, okay? It's rare for you to, like, if you've ever heard the hidden camera audio or video of thieves talking, they never say, I want shoes, so F that guy, I'm just taking them. Sometimes they do, but they usually don't. Usually they'll somehow try to justify it. Like, they don't want to be fully admit that they're, like, totally did something bad. Even when they did, they'll have, well, that guy is rich, or he's a jerk, or he deserved it, because they don't want to just say, I want shoes, so F everybody else, I'm going to do whatever I want. They'll almost never say that. So deep inside, they still kind of want to be good. They also want free shoes, but they still want to be a good person with free shoes. So they twist it around in their head to try to make these two things line up. Of course, they don't line up very well, but they still want that. And so that always fascinated me. Like, even when somebody's doing something really bad, most of the time they're somehow trying to still convince themselves and others that they're actually a good person. They don't want to just be a bad person. Now, is that because they grew up with these concepts? Or is there really actually are just goodness in people deep down? Even maybe it's less than 50% goodness, but it's still in there and it still wants some say. You can't do the bad things, it gives you the power. You know, so from my feeling is just that, like, is you just don't want to. And why should you do anything you don't want to do? You know what I mean? Like, you just don't want to. So when you say you can't, I'm like, it's not really exactly that way for me. It's just like, why would I do anything I don't want to do? Plus, it's bad, so I'm not doing it, right? Like, it's just unpleasant, so. Like, I want free shoes, but I'm not going to enjoy having free shoes if I stole them. Because then the stealing is more unpleasant than the pleasure of free shoes. So I just won't do it. Am I physically incapable of stealing the shoes? I don't know. Like, I feel like nothing's really stopping me, but except for I don't want to. So that's what's stopping me. So I guess it's not any different in the end, right? I mean, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, I'm gonna kill you, or I'm gonna kill your cat or something if you don't steal shoes, that I can go steal them, and I probably would, you know. So I think then I could, because I would think of it as the lesser evil, you know. That's craziness. I'm still laughing at this one. I'm like, I actually think, though, that this is actually the reverse, because we've seen this with the animals, right? Oh, this rare sneckle-beckle leopard is almost extinct, and it's new. It's actually new. So with this whole my labia minora is disappearing, I think it's new. I mean, does anybody really remember having a labia minora like 5 years ago? I remember having a majora, but I don't remember having a minora. And I just thought, you know, when I heard the word majora, I thought it was sort of like it's big or something, like maybe it's bigger than the other structures, and that's why they called it majora. But now with this other one showing up, it's okay, this is the bigger one of the two. All right, so this one, we're all into Jackie's stuff now. Black serval cat. One thing that really struck me is the tiny tail. It's like, it's not a super tiny tail, but it's not a long, long tail. So that's new because a lot of the other animals got these huge long tails. Like the horses, the meat part has gotten a lot longer. I think that the cow tails have gotten a lot longer. But now these new animals are showing up and they have these weird half tails. It's not a nub tail, but it's not a tail. So apparently these black serval cats, they're just a black version of the regular serval cats. And how long have the regular servals been around? They've been around about 10-ish, 15-ish years for me. Like maybe 10. I think they showed up maybe more like 8. I don't know. So servals. Okay, so did they always have this short a tail? I thought servals were more like normal cats, except for that they were a wildcat. I don't remember them having a short tail. And they've got these serval mix cats, and the serval mix cats don't have some stupid puny tail. So I really thought they had full-on tails before. I don't remember them having nub tails. Like the little shorties, and I don't remember them having half tails. So they have half tails now, and it looks weird. Why is that one so light colored? So I think it appears that we're getting a huge range of the color morphs on these servals now, because that one's like a mute version, and then this one, I don't even know if that's real actually. It's getting hard to tell the AIs. That's kind of the regular one. It's interesting, though. I don't remember the spots all lining up into stripes on these, though. I think that's different. Look at that. These servals. Okay, so servals have been busy. Because they didn't have these stripes going like this. Now, not all of them have it, but a bunch of them do. The ears are even. It's interesting. Okay, so they used to look more. They didn't have, I don't think, this wide ears. Like, they're very rounded. Their face has gotten very small. I don't think their face was that small before. I don't want to go to Adobe. I don't trust them. Let's see. Like, yeah, see how tiny the face is? So, like, the eyes and nose are just so. I don't think they had that small a face. That's a kitten. Now, that may be an AI. It's really hard to tell now. All right, here's a nice. That one's. Let's see how tiny the face is. With their body got bigger, one or the other. A lot of these are AI. That's AI. That one is probably AI. The other thing I almost forgot to mention this. So a bunch of these serval cats, and I've been watching this because this just wasn't much of a thing for me before, is it's really common to have the two-tone noses now. So for me, originally, either you had a black nose or a pink nose. Like if you're a real light-colored animal, you'd have the pink nose. And if you were a dark-colored animal, you have a black nose. And even most of the light-colored animals still had the black nose. That was the norm. A pink nose was abnormal. And then I noticed that the huskies and some of the malamutes started to have some two-tone colors where there was like some pink and some black. So I'm noticing today that a lot of these servals have almost like a hairpin pattern on their nose of pink right down the middle, and it's pretty orderly. See, check that one out. That's crazy. And I don't think that was on there before either with these servals. See that? It's interesting because the nose split goes way up too. Anyway, their nose is weird, and a lot of them have that. And they're not really like a whitish animal, so it's extra weird looking to me to see that. Let's see, does that guy? I can't tell. A few of them don't have it. That's like a kitten, though. So that one has it. Not. I'm wondering if they'll all get it, though, because, like, about at least half of them have it now. That guy has it. That, I think that one has it. That one does. Yeah, it looks to me like almost all of them have it. Check that one out. It has a lot. So it might be related to how the lower face is turning white on animals now. So maybe a little bit's coming in. Okay, so we're getting, the servals are getting these stripes on the back. They're getting the split nose pattern, a smaller face, more rounded ears. Look at, see how the pattern, it actually, these spots actually make stripes all the way down. That's pretty cool. So they're both striped and spotted at the same time right now. In case you can't decide. And I don't know. Does anybody remember what the tail was before? People degenerate a lot more these days. So even the older people, though, have changed a lot. And I think it might be the brain structure change and the energies. And I think also maybe getting used to them. You got like a new brain and now you have to learn how to use it. Oh, kitty. Who's there? You want to go out? I'll be right back. The kitty wants to go out. All right, kitty. You have to show yourself on the screen before you go. She's so chill now. See, kitty, you're famous. Famous kitty. See how chill she is now? She used to be so nervous. Now she's like, oh, are you done? There you go. That particular one is extra silly because whenever she gets happy, she bops up her back legs and kind of flicks them out. So she just like, she's so light. The other day, I brought a fresh bowl of food out and she was so happy about it that she kicked up so high that she flipped over. Her back legs crashed over. And then she's like, I meant to do that. I meant to do that. It was like, you are such a dork. The moral compass is what's coming online. I hope so. That'd be cool. I mean, look around. You don't really feel that, but maybe it's sort of a thing where sorting the wheat from the chaff kind of deal. Like, you got to pick now. I kind of feel like that's the thing. Is people are going to pick one way or the other. Are you going to go down this road or that road? Maybe there's no more half-halves. So, and a lot of hidden thoughts are coming out. So people don't bother to like hide it anymore. So maybe it's just actually in some ways more authentic than it was before. I'm not sure. Like stuff that was way down, perhaps. Maybe I just like to think of it that way because it feels better than to think that people don't give a rat's butt anymore. Maybe people who used to be more helpful and nice, they really weren't inside. They were just doing it because they thought that they had to. Maybe. I figured out this past month that different AIs have different characters. ChatGPT is snobby. DeepSeek is a philosopher. Grok is not so much likable. So it's what is programmed into them as how to behave. DeepSeek will, if you talk to it all cheeky, it'll talk back to you all cheeky. If you talk to it like a philosopher, it talks back to you like a philosopher. If you start talking in slang, it will. So it kind of mirrors a lot. I use DeepSeek a lot so that I know that one better. I'm not sure on the others. AI is ruining the internet. There's too many people who can't tell when something is fake. Yeah, that is very true. I mean, there's like, to me, a fairly obviously fake video, and 99% of the people seem to think it's real. I don't know where that's going to get us, but I mean, to me, it's really irritating, but they're having fun. I don't know. Maybe it'll bring a lot more Mandelas into reality, because people see these AIs, they'll believe it's real. Will believing it's real make it real? I mean, we have seen that kind of exposure to ideas do bring them into reality. So maybe this is really sort of like the tipping point. They have a different vibes in their program. If you ask a question and the vibe is not like yours, they jump out, and after repeating the question, another vibe comes up to answer. Yeah, exactly it. So you can say, like, answer in the voice of such and such, and it will. It's pretty interesting. Rick Beato swears some people can hear AI generated music and tell immediately. I don't know if I can now, but in the past I could, because there's just I haven't really checked in the last like 6 months, but there's just a certain blandness to it. It's not really bad, but it's not ever bad, nor it's kind of good, but it's not good, and it's very trite. I mean, it has, I don't know, I'd say I can do it 100% of the time, but, and each of the beats are just perfectly spaced, and there's not like this, I don't know. Even when a human does it, even if they suck, they have a certain flair to their suckness, and AI just kind of lacks that. I can't believe this was making me. Why did all those menopausal women not talk about that their labia was disappearing? It was like menopausal women everywhere, like, what? And in the current era, people don't want to admit when they don't know something, so. All right, let's see. We've kind of had this where we talked about how the plants can pull like gold particles up, and so apparently now not only can they pull the gold particles up, this is another one that Jackie found. Now apparently they can precipitate it into larger chunks, and there's like, oh, they take the gold nanoparticles and they put them together inside the needles. Some talk was maybe it's those biofilms. I don't know, what is, everything's a biofilm. Maybe humans are giant big fat biofilms. I don't know. Super complicated biofilms is that us. So now they're saying, well, there's biofilms in the leaves. Like, why does the plant not kick these biofilms out? We have like the suckiest immune system in this timeline. The tree's microbes can precipitate the soluble gold back into solid nano-sized particles. The gold dust, however, cannot be seen with the naked eye, and the nanoparticles are far too small to be collected for commercial use. For now, anyways. What if the tree is 1,000 years old? Then does it have enough gold to be collected? Gold nanoparticles are found inside the needles, surrounded by bacterial biofilms. DNA sequencing of these biofilms revealed certain bacterial groups such as P30B42, Cutibacterium. You got the cooties, Corynebacterium. Okay, were more common in gold-containing needles. These suggest that these specific spruce-associated bacteria can help transform soluble gold into solid particles inside the needles. What you want to bet there's going to be other trees that can do this too. Let's see. Along with endophytic bacterial taxa and needles of Norway spruce. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Published in the summer. When I was looking for this one, there was other ones like golden eucalyptus, golden this, gold. I didn't check them all because I didn't really have time. I'm actually like a day behind on comments too, so I apologize. All right, so let's see. I wrote that. Yes, that was all Jackie. Black Serval was Jackie. This one, the Smallville logo for people. This is one where both me and Jackie both know this show. And it came out when I was pretty young, and I don't remember this being the logo. It didn't look all beat up like that. It looks like some slasher film. This is the logo. It's always had these cut marks all over it. It's just bizarre to me. It looks like a slasher film. I can't. What happened to Smallville? Look at that. So I agree with Jackie. I don't think it had all the slashes. Anatomy changes prove that humans aren't solid. Yeah, what is even solid? I don't know. Although yet we do find that they happen slowly. Like I don't suddenly have another arm. Like the hand changes are slow. It seems like maybe there's side effects and people have like physical symptoms of it. So maybe it has to happen slowly. So that's one thing where I could see, okay, we grew from the womb, we were a child, we grew up. What is really stopping us from continuing evolution in the same vein as the womb and the growing up? So the lore has been that once you reach 20s or something, then you're kind of done growing and that's it. Now that's the body you got. Now you could get fat or thin, you could build muscles. Okay, but there was limits. But now we see, oh, the ears keep growing, the nose keeps growing. That was not a thing. Now the tips of the fingers can grow back, the ribs can grow back. Now there's also talk, well, you can add more bone over time due to stresses. And so like the whole thing is kind of, if you're going to go that far, why can't you then just slowly have your brain shape change, day by day, the ribs switch around. I don't know, it'd be, I'm like, I don't go in there and look and see like if two of the big ribs have split up into I swear there used to be less ribs and they were really thick. There's like more of them now, but they're thinner. So maybe they just kind of organically split and went around. I don't know. If I had checked it every day in an x-ray, maybe I would have saw the slow march of the rib splitting and oh yeah, preliminal did not get the numbers either. That's the mystery of the day. Jackie got 21. Shari got 1294. And preliminal got none. And one wrench person got numbers and one wrench person didn't. So I didn't get the numbers, but I kind of have a special... Oops. I'm going to have to go comment somewhere else and see the numbers. So like all these numbers at the end of their names, Vivian Mercier 1706, Shari D 1294. So today we show up and half the people in here have a bunch of numbers. Jackie McCarran 21. I know it wasn't that before. $21 is because I made this count when I was 21. Did you put 21 in? Did you actually add that? Because I don't remember there being a 21 at the end. And I'm pretty sure Shari did not make the account in 1294. because I don't think she's quite that old. It'd be interesting if that was the case. I'm pretty sure there was no internet back then. At least not this internet. So Jackie was asking about Winnie the Pooh, and I realized I've been seeing this one for a while. So the old Winnie the Pooh Mandela was that Winnie the Pooh was also often depicted with a balloon, like holding a single balloon. And the balloon was always red for most of us. And then suddenly it was blue. And then now if you look, first of all, they barely ever have one. It's sometimes blue, sometimes some other color. I think you'd have to go back to the original artistry now, because like over here it's purple, but that might be AI. This one it's pink, but you know, somebody probably designed that to sell as a backdrop. So if this like a wedding backdrop, they just probably pick pink. So I just typed in Winnie the Pooh, and I didn't see hardly any balloons this time compared to normal too. So maybe the balloon thing is just phasing out. Like there was a anime character that I remember was famous for the finger guns, where you're like, you know, like good job, you know, and it was just, they call it the finger gun. I didn't even know what the word finger guns meant until that character, it was the thing that this character's famous for, the finger guns. And then one time, like about 6 months ago, I realized that I had not seen that character do the finger guns in a long time. And on a lark, I looked it up, and guess what? Oh, look, hey, it's red again. I'm going to freak out if it goes back to red, because it kind of looks like it did. I don't know. Yeah, that character never does finger guns. I couldn't find anything. Absolutely could not find. It's not known for finger guns. Looking for finger guns, I found other characters in the show doing the finger guns occasionally, but not that one, ironically. Never that one. Okay, so the other thing, I had noticed this, and every time I saw it, and I think it's been around for a while, but every time I saw it, I thought that artist was taking liberties when I saw it. And that is the tiny shirt. So Jackie was saying she doesn't remember the tiny shirt. So I kept seeing it. I'm like, well, that artist really made his shirt small. Maybe they wanted to emphasize the tummy riding up, you know. But I realized I kept seeing it over and over. That is the world's smallest shirt. And I don't think that there was a crop top on Winnie the Pooh originally. This one actually looks better to me, a little squared off, but about right. Now maybe the shirt would ride up a little in certain, like when honey was consumed and there was the goal to show a big fat stomach, so the shirt would ride up and the stomach would stick out. But that looks ridiculous to me. It's so tiny. So I had been seeing it and noticing it and like writing it off. I mean, come on. The sleeves are longer in that one than the shirt. See, that looks a little better there, doesn't it? But if that was legit, it'd have to be way up here, like it's like Winnie the Pooh porn or something. I'm sorry I even said it, but I mean, like, that's that. Look, come on. Why would you have such a tiny shirt? Who would make that decision? I think up here I had the original art. Now I can't find it. Where? That's not even... Okay, that's a whole different one. Dang, did I really scroll that far? Anyway, I had the art up there for a minute, and it is all that short. It was like one of the original cartoons was on there. That's... I don't want to have other people's takes on it. Vector images. Where did it go? I had it here. Here. All right, so you could see that it was always super tiny like this. It looks more like almost like a neck warmer than a shirt. If you look into the trip reports from the early 2000s and 90s, you'll see many people refer to themselves as me or I, like the self completely disappears when you do psychedelics. So kind of my experience with that, with psychedelics, is that you're kind of like talking to something, and it's could be your higher self or something that knows more than you, and it gives a an out kind of a unbiased perspective, which be I say it like you don't have your ego isn't in it, so it can just see you as you really are, like even the good stuff, the bad stuff, and every silly thing that you do all the time. And it when you're in that perspective, you don't think, like, it's kind of weird. Like, you got that perspective, but you can still you. And I kind of shift over to it. So, like, first I'm talking to the unbiased version, and pretty soon I'm the unbiased version talking to me. Like, it, as you get higher and higher, I switch over to the unbiased version. Informing, so like the conversation reverses sort of like, but I still get like, I'm like both at the same time talking to me. So like when you said that, I don't even know how to answer it. Like I'm there, but I'm also the other one that is unbiased, or at least not biased the way the human me is. It's almost like I do wonder, and I don't know for sure, but it's almost like maybe how you were before you came here, kind of unbiased. Like it kind of feels like that. I don't know if that's really it though. Like before you got all sucked into the earth thing and knew all that earth bias and training and brainwashing and everything, and blindness areas and areas where you like you don't like you're not seeing yourself for your true self for multiple reasons. That version can see all that and will tell you, hey, look, didn't you notice you're doing this, that, and the other? There's kind of a limit though, because it seems like it won't push into, if it's too hard for you to deal with right then, like it'll just tell you some stuff. Like it kind of knows what you can handle, is kind of my feeling. That this is all an illusion and their whole life was a fake dream. Yeah, it seems like it's sort of like this game, like we just came here to play World of Warcraft or Earth, or so like say you're playing a video game, and it's like you totally forget that you're actually over here sitting in your living room going for brief minutes. It's sort of like that, but more extreme because you really forgot. And it seems like a long time, but if you're a bajillion-year-old creature, then 50 years is really not that long at all. So once you get back there, you're like, it's just a few minutes. It wasn't that long. When you're here, it seems like 100 gajillion years, but over there, they're like, nah. Okay, so Jackie found this thing. This one makes me laugh because she's like, lantern shield. I forgot what she wrote exactly, but the name of this thing is lantern shield, and that is the thumbnail. It's this thing. And so I'm thinking there's gonna be a shield with a lantern in it, right? But then I get the name of it, and I mean, I get the image of it, and I'm like, well, where's the lantern part? Because I see all kind of stuff, but I don't see the lantern. So first image I saw was this. I'm like, what the F? There's a giant creepy hand. There's like a shield. It's like something out of some weird video game went backwards in time. So I'm like, what? And there's all these swords, and I'm like, where's the lantern? So the lantern apparently is in here. Like there's a lantern light, and it seems ridiculous to me. I mean, all the rest of this actually makes a little bit more sense. Like you've still got your hand, but your hand is shielded. You got all these pokies, and it's like a shield, right? The lantern part just seems asinine because, like, one of the things they were saying is if you do have to fight and you get hit, then the hot flaming lantern liquid could spill on you because it's housed on the inside over here. And that just seems like the stupidest thing ever. But the rest of it seems less stupid. It's just the lantern part. Okay, so this kind of gives an idea. It's pretty blurry, but there's supposed to be light coming out of here. This is an actual one. Apparently, from what I was reading, this was like historically actually a real one that was fabricated back in the, when was it? 1500s or something? 1500s, 1600s? So part of the lore is that they mostly used it for patrolling at night. Okay, so the lantern thing makes more sense. And for nighttime duels. Like nighttime duels. Just, didn't they used to just start those things in the morning? I'll meet you at dawn on Wednesday. Apparently now they had nighttime duels in Italy. All right, wait, we need to go over here. Small shield combined with a lantern. Let's see if I can make this one big enough. There. All right, so that's the outside with the hand with spikes. And the inside here is this is the lantern part that makes the light. I think this one's upside down because that hole is supposed to be up there. So there's like burning oil there that puts light out through this hole. And then somehow this hand, which you'd think, I don't know, is grabbing a thing that that controls the lantern. Like can open it or close it or something. So I'm kind of confused why you don't just put the whole hand behind the whole shield then. Maybe you can let go. I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird thing for me, considering they used it 15th and 16th century Italy. It had to have been of some use. I mean, for all that time they used it. Especially for nighttime duels. The more elaborate examples might incorporate gauntlets, spikes, sword blades, and also a mechanism to alternatively darken or release the light of the lantern. Swordsmen dueling at dawn are reported to have carried lanterns. Wait, that doesn't make sense. If you're dueling at dawn, then what do you need the lantern for? You've got dawn. You've got the giant lantern in the sky. Fencing manuals of the period integrated the lantern into their lessons, using it to parry blows and blind the opponent. Manuals sometimes show the combatants carrying the lantern in the left hand, wrapped behind the back. All right, now here it says it was never actually used in combat, but rather for patrolling. But then if they have a whole bunch of lessons on using it, and they use it for a couple hundred, even like 1,000 and some years, it just seems highly unlikely to me that they weren't using it for combat if they have combat lessons all those times. 18th and 19th century, so that's a lot of time. So I don't get it. And so we have this super short freaking wiki. The shield had, yeah, the shield had a lantern. So, I don't know, my timeline, we had the world's worst armor compared to now. I mean, like, there was nothing even that complicated. There was absolutely, like, you could barely move. There was a lot of talk that that armor was mostly ceremonial, except for maybe some vests or something, like maybe a little bit of chainmail. But that was kind of the thing, that it was so unwieldy, heavy, and cumbersome that it was mostly ceremonial and something for the nobles, and it was so expensive because it was so bad that you couldn't really use it in fighting. But now there's amazing stuff, and always has been. It was some kind of a... They do have images. Let me see if I can find those freaking images. I agree it was weird, and frankly, when I first looked at this, I was saying the same thing. There's no lantern. Where's the lantern? I kept looking for the lantern. Where is the lantern part of it? Because all I see is a gauntlet and pokey things. And then then suddenly I swear I looked at this one and never saw this hole. And then I'm like, wait, there's a hole. I looked at this one like 10 times because I was thinking of using this as the thumbnail, and I swear, I don't know, like, if it just showed up, I wasn't seeing it, but now they almost all have holes, except for this one. And this is not one of the ones I was looking at. This one has the trapdoor, but it's shut. And this is a beautiful workmanship thing. I mean, it's a beautiful medallion thing, too. It just amazes me, truly. The quality of that thing is better than all the... This is more like the armor from my timeline, minus the gauntlet, maybe. It's crappy shit. And there's just nothing like what you see here. Okay, so here's an example of the inside. So apparently this is the lantern. And you see here that this control mechanism comes down, and the gauntlet hand can, like, open and shut. I think it's opening and shutting the trap door over on the other side where that lets light in and out. But it's kind of bizarre to me because this whole thing is fairly complicated. But this part, like, it does not make sense to me. I could kind of see maybe if you had an option to fling burning hot oil onto your opponents. Like, you're like, oh yeah, here you go. Whoosh. Like, see this. Okay, here's the light. So, somebody's causing trouble. I'll just fling some burning hot oil. But that's not what they're talking about. And so I kind of really wonder if you started this up and you were able to just fling that crap. That would make more sense. Because I can't see carrying the lantern all into your arm. And then if you really started fighting and it bashed you and you got burning hot oil all over you, that would be really sucky. Look at the workmanship on these things. It reminds me of World of Warcraft or something, these things. They're amazing. They're cool looking. They are so cool looking. And yet ridiculous at the same time. I mean, when I saw that, I'm like, no. What the hell is that thing? I think I saw this one first. Alright, what is it? There's not many examples of showing the inside either. I think that's a different one. Okay, yeah, that is a different one because that one has the ribbed one, and then there's this one. Maybe that isn't the original. I don't know. I guess it is because it does match this workmanship here. So maybe those are not done morphing. Look at this guy. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Dark Souls equipment. I don't. The thing is, I totally studied on medieval armor and stuff. There literally was nothing even close to the workmanship that you see regularly now on this stuff. I mean, talk about tech back in time. For me, that is actually huge. We didn't even, like, my timeline just didn't have the workmanship. They just didn't have the skills to do what now exists and has back since then. Can do Korean barbecue. What is it about the Koreans? They really know how to do like a beef barbecue. They get to call it Korean barbecue. Everybody knows because it is so. If you've ever had it, it's so delicious. What are they putting in there? What is the magic ingredient? All right, so that is like the ridiculousness of the day. I think there's a little video of him. I don't think these guys are real good. And this, I think, is a new reproduction, not really nice one. They do look smaller than I would have thought, and maybe that they were bigger. Like, some of those look like they're bigger than that, but this guy is not a medieval weight training dude either, so maybe he had to put some limits on it. See, it doesn't look really useful. It's chicken wings. But, you know, he didn't train on it, so there's that. All right, we did that. Okay, I'm there. Well, did I do everything? That's gone. Lantern shield. Oh, okay. There's two from the other day, too. The armors were so heavy that if they fell from the horse, they couldn't get back on. Good question. I do remember that. So I remember that, like, yeah, they definitely needed assistance getting on. They needed their people. Is it jammed? There we go. Something like that. Yep, it's a myth. The notion that a crane or winch, I don't remember a crane or winch, I just remember that they would get their assistants to help them, was required as a myth, perpetuated by the 1944 film Henry V. Despite protests from historical advisors, a knight's ability to vault onto his horse in full armor was considered a matter of pride and necessity, as being unable to remount after being unhorsed left a warrior vulnerable in battle. The design of plate armor, composed of articulated plates and lames, linked by rivets and straps, allowed for full range of motion. See, that wasn't the case for me. There was not full range of motion, and it was too freaking heavy. Enabling activities like running, sitting, lying down, and mounting a horse. While a small still might have been used for convenience, it was never necessary. The height of a typical warhorse, ranging from 14 to 16 hands, also facilitated the process. 16 hands is not a small horse. Let's see. Myth 1's knights could barely move in their heavy, clumsy armor. That was a thing. I totally researched that. That was a famous thing that they always talked about. And if you saw the armor back then, you would have believed it because it was obviously massively crappy compared to the armor now. All right, myth 2, crane-like. I did not have the crane-like device was needed, but it was like your assistants would help you. It was impossible to go to the toilet. I don't remember knowing either way on that. Due to being, this was a thing, due to being so expensive, only nobility or monarchy wore armor. Yes, that was totally a thing they always said. Okay. Armored cod pieces were to protect a knight's genitals. I don't remember there really being cod pieces like that you could visibly see. I just remember there was kind of a skirt of pieces of metal or chainmail or some kind of a thing like that. There wasn't like this molded cod piece thing. I never saw it until like four years ago, maybe. The cod piece. North Korea is living dead. You know, with all the disinfo now and how everything is backwards land, I wouldn't even be shocked at this point if we found out like North Korea was actually like paradise and they were hiding it from us all this time or something, because everything is so crazy now. It's just like, you don't know how stuff is unless you can go there, you know? So in China and Korea, as they get all online and get exposed to other opinions, it is getting much less popular to eat dogs or cats in those countries that used to eat them. But you kind of have to understand that those countries, just a lot of people did not have money and you couldn't afford to take meat products off the table, you know. You just had to eat what was available, and that was what was available. But now with modern technology and modern farming and transportation and stuff, you can afford to just go, no, I don't want to do that. A lot of this weird, creepy stuff is like constantly changing with the shifts too. Because there's definitely a lot of narratives that cats were considered really valuable because they controlled the rodents. The rodents ate your grain. The cats ate the rodents. They didn't eat your grain. So people like cats, you know, so... I mean, Mexico eats a lot of weird brain material, monkey brains and stuff. I don't know if they still do, though. I know it was a thing before. Carne de cabeza, it was just meat out of the... It was brain meat. Apparently, when you stir fry it, it just looks like meat, so you wouldn't even really know, but... I have a suspicion we'll all move away from meat over time, though, because there's, like, stuff growing up that tastes meaty, but it's not meat, like mushrooms and those things. I think it's just how we're going to shift, and we're moving more towards a fermentation hindgut type situation with the whole prebiotics, probiotics, fiber, but it can't be any old fiber. It has to be the right kind of fiber. So if you did fiber before, it didn't work, but that explain it. All right, so we did that. Okay, so what did I miss? Okay. Did I talk about that Erica Kirk one? Because I swear that it was Erica Kirk, which is the wife of Charlie Kirk, who was in a very interesting event where he apparently was shot. I don't even want to say I know for sure what happened there, and maybe it's different in every timeline, but this is the wife, and this was 2 weeks ago. I keep forgetting to cover this one, but I looked into Erica Kirk, and I looked into Erica Kirk a number of times, like a fair number, and I had to make sure I had the spelling right, because that name is just kind of normal, it's not the most unusual name. So I know that it was a C. It was Erica with a C. And then about 2 weeks ago, I type in Erica with a C and I see Erica with a K, and I'm like, oh, that person doesn't know how to spell her name right. And then I say, oh, what the heck? Everybody's using it. So I think that about 2 weeks ago, her name changed from a C to a K. And it looks a lot better now because the K goes with the K's and the Kirk, and it all fits together. It just wasn't that way before. So interesting. She got a K in her name. I mean, even that spelling is the weirdest thing because my old timeline did not have Erica with a K. It just wasn't a thing. All right, so I think that one shifted. And then the other one, speaking of horses, we now have these things called dwarf horses. Now, they're not miniature horses. And I think these are going to become a total thing because they're basically like if you have a miniature horse and you breed them, and then they just happen to be dwarf miniature horses because they have the dwarf gene. So, and then they're like, they don't even know all the genetics of the dwarf gene. So then they're even smaller, and they're like pretty, they're just all different looking, and they're mostly cute. Like there's a dwarf one, right? So of course they say don't breed them on purpose because maybe the hooves and the bone structure are not ideal for a horse, but they're tiny enough that they're not weighed down. I mean, look at the body. The head is like normal and the body's tiny. So that would be like, I think that's a baby mini, but I think that's a dwarf. So they're even tinier with like kind of pudgy cuteness. Okay, dwarf miniature. That is definitely a dwarf. All right, there's a dwarf. So now you basically got a miniature horse, but with hardly any legs. So they're like a corgi in the horse world. But I saw a video of these, and most of them just run around like normal and everything. So I think that is a dwarf, but it has longer legs than some of them. So anyways, like I'm just seeing these everywhere now. Of course, with the usual admonitions like, oh, don't breed dwarf horses. It's cruel to breed dwarf horses. Everybody's got to stop breeding dwarf horses. Which I think like the more you finger wag, the more they just show up in reality or something. So I think these are the next things. Miniature horse with dwarfism. There it is. This is the one that was running all over Dodge, Mississippi. Let's see. All right, I need to turn on. The sound is off. Yes. Close that. All right, so this is another miniature dwarf miniature. You have to admit that's cute. That is so cute. It doesn't seem real, but it's cute. So I think this is an adult here. This is an adult. They're so tiny. 15-month-old miniature. Okay, so it's not 100% adult, but I would guess that these small ones reach their full size faster than an adult horse. Maybe it'll get a little bigger than that, but yeah, so that's our new I pity dwarf anything. So, you know what the thing, though, is that they show up with all this finger wagging, and then pretty soon they're a whole breed, and then pretty soon they go, oh, that's a myth. They really don't have that many problems. Shari never saw Erica with a C. I think I might have shifted on my own this last shift, because a lot of this stuff I saw the changes, and everybody's like, I don't know what you're talking about with the Antarctica being bigger and a bunch of other stuff. So, I mean, people agree that there's been shifts and there have been synchronicities off the charts for a lot of people, but dwarf humans. Well, we already had dwarf humans, so we have the hobbit species, but that's only in the past. I don't know, like the dwarf humans, a lot of them say, you know, that they are pretty happy and they're just regular people but short. So I don't know. Is it really hell to be a dwarf human? Now Russians gave what they had from JFK assassination for the second time to the Americans. First time they did it, the Americans destroyed the documents. I have never heard this narrative before. This is absolutely fascinating. So, did the Russians like post it? Can we like just read it since I have never heard about the Russians knowing anything about the JFK assassination. Like, why would they know? They're way over there in Russia. I'm like, really? I'm going to have to look this up. Wait. All right. Okay. I got to look. What? We got 8 minutes. Russian documents on JFK assassination. I would think that RFK would want to know about that. Republican claims Russia has given her JFK assassination files. Anna Paulina Luna. Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets has received a 350-page report from the Russian government concerning the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Handed over by the Russian ambassador to the U.S., Alexander Darchev, at his residence in Washington, are based on declassified Soviet-era archives from Moscow. All right, they're declassified, so it's not like it's not a big old secret. Luna confirmed the receipt. I have received a hard copy. So they were there the whole time. They could have just got them. I guess nobody thinks like, oh, let's just go ask the Russians if they have anything. Not on that kind of thing. A Russian embassy noticed that the archive materials were provided upon Luna's request with the consent of the copy holders, and that they will be officially published in Russia in November 2025. Interesting. Some of the files were reportedly first presented to the U.S. officials during Kennedy's 1963 funeral. Luna plans to have the documents translated by a team of experts, including journalist Jefferson Morley, and will upload the translated materials for public access. Well, thank you. Handover as of massive historical significance. Noting that Congress had previously attempted to obtain these files in the 1990s, but was denied. The documents are expected to offer new insight into Lee Harvey Oswald's time in the Soviet Union and Moscow's response to the assassination. Do people remember Lee Harvey Oswald hanging out in the Soviet Union? Because I sure as heck don't. I don't know anymore. I don't remember anything about that. Maybe it was way before. I just don't remember anything about that. The release follows earlier disclosures in the 90s when Boris Yeltsin handed over some Soviet documents on the assassination to President Bill Clinton, which indicated Soviet efforts to distance themselves from Oswald. I don't even remember the Russians having anything to do with Oswald, but in this timeline they had to distance themselves. This is just bizarre. I don't even know what to say. So I guess that's why they have documents on him, because they had something to do with him here. Does anybody remember the Russians having anything to do with Oswald? She is translating it and putting it online ASAP. Well, cool. I wish he would just slap the Russian version up, though, because I would like to see both of those versions up there. There's a bajillion Russian speakers that can just read that crap and give us the gist right away. They should put both versions up so that we can verify the translations. And what happened to the picture that the representatives wanted to have from CNN? They showed Oswald was in the picture background. I did see that picture. It looks like Oswald, but it also could be somebody else because it was so grainy. So that just showed up for me like, 2 years ago or something? Very weird. This timeline is so good at just tickling the interest bone, but not quite clarifying. Like, there's like the Charlie Kirk thing, there's a million, like, that looks suspicious, but you can't quite say for sure. Like, the guys doing all their hand signals, and then this, and like right when this guy does this, the gun goes off, and why is everybody like, I mean, then, oh, maybe he was just scratching his head. No, I don't think so, but there's so much crazy on that one. Nah, it was a setup. This is, even if it was a setup, there's so many weird things going on at once. There's too many weird things. There's too many even for a setup. There's got to be six different groups trying to kill them all at once, and they were all in there, and then one of them got there first. I mean, like, if you were going to kill somebody, you're going to sit there and go, hand signal, 1 minute, 4 minutes to launch. I mean, you know that there's video all around. You're not going to be doing all that. I mean, I know people are stupid now, but they're not, these people in the military are not that stupid. And that's why I'm like, I have no problem thinking that, he was assassinated by, say, certain governments that weren't real happy with him or whatever. But I can't see how they would suck so bad at hiding it. I just feel like the timeline wants us to be interested in it. A lot of people have been saying, though, like that the thing that happened in Israel with the Hamas, there's a whole bunch of info coming out about how the border guards along the fence were called away and told not to do their patrols and everything. So it really looks like that was basically Israel's 9/11, that there's like so much evidence that it was allowed to happen. So it's something to keep in mind. Yeah, you don't have to get ragey, though. Like, if you just look at it as an interesting narrative, I tend to think now that when you die, it's because it was your time. Like, that was just it. So it was meant to be that way. And I don't think you die until it is your time. So I don't think, like, if it wasn't his time, they would have missed, or they would have decided not to for any number of reasons, like, oh, it'll be too obvious if we try to kill him, or whatever. It was his time. So I don't get too rage baity about that anymore. It's just, if you think of it that way. Yeah, and, he may live on in other timelines. Maybe in some timelines they missed, and so maybe his consciousness is not even aware of what happened here. I think the Mandela helps me a lot with not getting as sucked into the narrative, because I'm like, it could all change, It's interesting, though, because I do hear a lot of people say, well, I don't like Charlie Kirk because he said blah, blah, blah. But then you find out he never actually said any of that. It's like a game of telephone. Like, he'll say, well, I think Hamas is responsible for some of the violence. And then after a couple games of telephone, it'll be that Charlie Kirk said the Palestinians deserve to die. And then that's gone around, and he never said that. Now, I don't agree with everything he said. But he never said, like, there's all this horrible stuff he supposedly said. He never said. He said a way milder version of something a little bit different. And that's what he said. And so that's one of the things that really bothers me about all the media, is that stuff is so exaggerated, that they make a false Charlie Kirk that said all these horrible things, but he never did. He said milder things. I do disagree with some of them, but they make this fake character. 99% of the people who believe in the fake character never watched him, or they only saw a couple clips taken out of context. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to watch him because he's a fascist. And they think he's a fascist because of these false narratives, and they believe in the false narrative. So they never learn, right? And so then they're like, and now he deserves to die because he's a fascist. But he isn't. That's the thing. And there's so many things. Both sides do that, of course. But I talk to people here because I live in Democrat land. I'm like, well, have you ever, like, listened to Joe Rogan? And they're like, well, no. And then I'm like, well, then how do you know how he is? And they're like, well, and they'll say like, well, first of all, he won't have any Democrats on. I'm like, well, he's had Democrats on. He's had Bernie Sanders on. He invited Hillary Clinton, but she refused to go, blah, blah. And then they're, well, he did they're so sure because some pundit told them this, that he refuses to have these people on. It's not true. They are invited, and then, some of them show up and others say no. And then they'll come up with another thing. Well, he said blah, blah. Like, well, but he didn't. He actually said this. Now, again, I don't always agree with Joe Rogan, but they're hating something that doesn't exist. It is not really him because they didn't take the time to actually learn the truth. I think it's easier for me to see these examples because I live in the Democrat land. So, I have to encounter it all the time. I'm not saying that the Republicans don't do it because they do. They do. Well, I'm just saying, if you're going to hate somebody, I don't like arrogant, big-headed dudes. Was Charlie Kirk arrogant? I don't think in the way you're accusing him of. I don't know. Do you mean like he's got an actual physically large head? I don't really know. Kirk was, I think, a rare talent in that he could listen with like this energy that did not have judgment. Like, even if he didn't agree with you, he had like a kindness, I don't know how to describe it, that I was envious of. And again, there were many beliefs that he had, and it's interesting because it did seem like he was shifting those beliefs, and many believe that's why he was killed, because he wasn't staying with the official narrative. He was shifting away before he got killed. So it's ironic because a lot on the left are like, good, he's dead. But in fact, if he had lived, it probably would have went their way a lot more. But everybody's trying to use him now for their agenda. Yeah, definitely. But he had this rare talent that I very much envied, was that he could talk to people without having that judgy energy. Like, even if they were really mean to him and unfair and just insulting him and all kinds, he just wouldn't, like, he wouldn't get sucked into the anger, the hate. He could just stay outside of it and just stay calm. And that is one thing that I would like to be better at. I'm not going to become a Republican, and I'm not going to push a lot of his stuff, but that was a very rare talent. A very rare talent. I mean, if the Dems really hated him, they should have killed like somebody else that was far worse. Like, there's like 10 or 15 of them on the right. So it's interesting, and that's another reason why I don't think it really was like Shapiro, for instance. Okay, if you really wanted to kill somebody that you thought was way too far right, it would have been Shapiro or one of those guys. But nope. I used to like Bernie, but I think he sold out like big time. But I also wonder if he got threatened because if you will recall, there was this big stink where they accused his wife of having exaggerated the value of some collateral in order to get a loan. And that's pretty much something that half the planet or more does, is that, like, you want to get a loan, they're like, oh, how much is your house worth? Oh, it's like worth like $500,000. Well, maybe it's only worth $450,000 or $400,000. Pretty much everybody pegs it pretty high to ensure that they're going to get their loan, right? Now, maybe they would have gotten their loan if they hadn't exaggerated, but you're always trying to make sure that you have the maximum chance to be approved for that loan. And so they said, and it's complicated to try to say, well, this is the actual value of your home and blah, blah. And they were going to make a big stink out of it. And it's something that they've been using against people If they go through your loans and your wife's loans and your kids' loans and your grandma's loan, they're going to find somebody who did it. And then they go after them. And there was a big stink, and then suddenly it all just was let go and it was dropped. And that was right around the time that Bernie became an absolute Democrat kowtower, So I do wonder if basically he got kicked into submission. But still, I mean, he sold out. That's my opinion anyway. He's now just another Democrat. In fact, he actually has really disgusted me lately with the lowness of some of his behavior. It's very disappointing. But again, I don't know if it's because I feel like if it was me, maybe I would have just left politics. Like he's already, he used to always say, oh, those millionaires should pay more taxes. And then he became a millionaire, right? So now he says those billionaires should pay more taxes. I'm like, oh, so now that you're one of them. Yeah, so, I don't trust him. Shapiro, he's so obvious. I just feel like a lot of stuff's clown world now, and Shapiro is one of those. I mean, like, seriously? Come on. I mean, a lot of the politicians are clown world now, but he definitely sticks out. So, yeah, again, I don't know, like, was he threatened? I just feel like he should have maybe just left politics, though, but... Well, yeah, I mean, like, because they're always talking about race. So if you yank out like one sentence, he's not saying that like it means you're special if you're white. He never said that he was special because he's white. But sometimes you'll just, if somebody says, hey, do you have any blah, blah, blood? And you go, no, actually, I'm the whitest guy you'll ever meet. It doesn't mean that you are somehow this horrible racist. But that's what the media does. They pluck that out. And then they say, he said this. And then they don't put all the other context in. I think he was arrogant in that he thought he knew the best way to live. And I don't, I'm not that confident like that. And I think there's always a certain amount of confidence in, or maybe arrogance in whenever you're saying, I know the best way to live, like the healthiest way. But beyond that, though, no. And I think almost everybody around thinks they know the best way to live. Like if you talk to anybody on the street, they are themselves actually pretty confident that they know the best way, and it might not be the way that Kirk did. So I don't really call that being arrogant because it's kind of like the normal kind. It's just like the average amount of belief system arrogance. But yeah, no, he wasn't arrogant. And he was kind of unusual that way. There was a lot of ways that he was unusual. Like, again, I'm not all into the religion thing. And a lot of his stuff was family values, nuclear family. I do think that nuclear family is very valuable. If you can have a decent one, it is always a big if. But see, he goes and he has a speech somewhere. Don't want to listen to him, don't go. I mean, like, he's not forcing you to go to his events. There are events in college campuses all the time. Most of them I won't go to because they're boring to me. It doesn't mean I'm angry about them, I hate them, or I think that the people in there are arrogant. It just means it's not my deal. So that's like a different thing. So that's one of the things I always like. I think that Kirk was also very naive in a lot of ways. Like, I think he just trusted too much in certain beliefs, and he was starting to vacillate on a lot of those towards the end. And there's many emails and texts saying that he was shifting, like, I think, this is happening, this is not right, and I'm gonna have to change the way I'm doing things. And so I think actually he figured out a lot of stuff at the end. Well, I mean, Charlie Kirk didn't come to people's doors. He just had events at colleges like a lot of people do. He never knocked at anybody's door. Yeah, he was waking up. I think he was waking up. He's an interesting character. I think that some of the things that part of the reason he could be so confident was on certain things was, I think he was naive and too trusting in certain areas. Certain really positive people. He was one of those really positive people. He believed he could help people. He was really, really naively positive, and I think that was part of it. And at the end, he started to realize that maybe he was too trusting. At least that's what the evidence seems to suggest. Bernie is... you know what? In recent years, I have seen Bernie get up there and argue the Democrat line, no matter how stupid the Democrat line is. Like, it's obviously ridiculous. And I have seen him use every dirty trick that any politician has ever used, insulting people, and I've been absolutely disgusted by it and disappointed, and I won't even listen anymore. I think it just, I wish I could remember the exact example now. It's just kind of like you don't even want to, because it was like, you know what it was? It was the Twitter files. He was attacking those reporters that were reporting on the Twitter files. And then he was like, well, aren't you getting money from people watching your posts, and he was just insulting, like obviously a scumbag because somebody paid you a couple pennies for this, and Bernie, who's a freaking millionaire, has the nerve to say that. I mean, it was absolutely insinuating the scummiest things. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. And most of the people I know who used to like Bernie is the same. It's the same. He's just not the one he was before. I don't know what happened, but it's sad. Anyway, it is time for me to go. Let's see. I did dwarf horses. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. All right, people. You know the drill. Think good thoughts, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline. Am I really? Oh my gosh. Well, Well, that was fun. I think